Welcome to Integrating Reality, Turner Fleischer's digital twin in action. My name is Brent Mauti. I'm the Chief Technology Officer here at Turner Fleischer. I've been here for over 4 years now, and I'm going to take you through our journey focused on our office here in Toronto. We are 49, almost 50 years of experience with 250 plus professionals covering a wide range of sectors, ranging from residential, mixed use, industrial, commercial, signage, interiors, etc. I'm going to be taking you through the journey we experienced here with our studio, and these are the 10 aspects that we endeavored to better as we were doing our design, construction, and now operating. And I'll take you through each. On the left is what was, on the right is what we became. And it's like bettering our learning space, enhancing our boardrooms with the use of technology and brighter spaces, building better collaboration spaces within our studio and being able to monitor their use, enhancing the experience for our external clients, building a gathering space that actually fit us so that we weren't overflowing outside, building spaces enriched with technology so we can take the newest of technologies and actually apply them in our everyday work, focusing on wellness with trees and access to light and exterior environment, ensuring we provided diversity. So instead of sharing the gym space with a prayer space, actually having a reflection room and a gym room that are unique, enhancing creativity, creating a model studio where we can actually build physical manifestations of our designs, and planning for growth so that we can expand and further apply hybrid technologies. Our studio was diverse and separated, and we focused on bringing us together in a one studio space. So this process, we went through the design and construction with a full building information model, started in Revit, used for layouts, conceptual design, generation of drawings, details, etc. We went into our construction phase, which occurred during the pandemic. So we were cleared out working virtually. We could have 24/7 construction in our physical space. Model was updated, digital record was verified for many of our components, and now we have this physical space. So great. Now, 2 years ago, we started formally operating. And what did that mean? Well, suddenly there were assets that needed some form of care. We have a generator. We have bike storage lockers on the outside. We have a living green wall on the inside, vending machines. We have 3D printers and laser cutters. We have actual printers in a printing room. We have inventory, so our swag that's inside spaces within our studio. We have stationery, again, in an inventory inside an asset. We have a coffee maker, which is my favorite asset. When that goes down, what do? So that's like a 24/7 critical one. Fire extinguishers, a little more critical. We have fire extinguishers that need to be serviced and maintained. Our gym equipment. We're architects. We're interior designers. We don't know how to manage equipment, but we have it. It needs to be managed. We have large screens. So that's a multi-tiled LED panel screen of, I think it's 180 inches total. When a little square goes down, like you can see in the top right corner there, what do? Water dispensers, so the water needs to be clean, purified, coming out. Trees on the inside, we're not arborists. Tech inside all of our boardrooms. We have these windows that are supposed to be tinting when the sun shines on them. What happens when they don't? We have IoT sensors, which we'll talk a little bit about later, 35 of them scattered all over. And then my favorite, we have sit-stand desks. What happens when the sit-stand desk doesn't go up or go down? All of these have issues, have potential, need to be functioning. We want that to be taken for granted. How do we make sure it's all happening? Well, we said, let's look at a digital twin and focus on these three aspects: the spaces which we occupy as people, the wellness of our people, and the actual asset documentation themselves. To do that, we looked at the concept of a digital twin. So what is a digital twin? Well, we first said, let's look at some platforms that are out there. Informed by IBI Group is one I helped to build many years ago. Archibus, Archidata, Ecodomus, Flare 3D, Nemenschek D-Twin, iTwin by Bentley. All of these had potential, and guess what? They all work. But we landed on Tandem. And why Autodesk Tandem? Well, first of all, it was a good price point. Come in and play for free. We could do that, right? Connected to ACC. So our model through design and construction was in Autodesk Construction Cloud. Well, Tandem just layers around that. Pull your model, drop it in the system. That's pretty good. Access governed by our M365 logins, which were all governed by single sign-on through Autodesk already. So that made that easy. I could add links to asset inventories and information. This was critical. I can't have an asset where I can't get to the physical pieces that affect how it's operated. I needed a couple clicks to my data. I can build views and filters and do whatever I want. And you can see in the video, I'm interacting with the model as we would normally with a design model throughout the life cycle. So it made it easy. And the other critical, IoT streams. I needed to be able to connect to information, to Internet of Things streams so that I can visualize them in a certain manner. Excellent. We had our platform. Now, how did we address spaces, wellness, assets? So let's look at spaces first. What's the critical thing about that? Well, we have desks, we have rooms. So you focus on a desk, the desk is modeled, the desk contains metadata, and the metadata says things about what's happening to that desk. Like, there's my desk. So I am a speck of data that's bound to an asset that I can then do something with. So what do we want to know? What type of desk is it? We had two types, a manager desk and a designer desk. What about my network switch? And that's a unique piece of data. You wouldn't model a switch number or a port number, but it's important data for me to interact with our IT infrastructure. What computer's there? Managing the asset inventory of just our IT, the department of the desk, the manager of the desk. Suddenly now I'm able to analyze the data of the arrangements live in my digital twin centered on the occupant and all the data around the occupant. And I have the bracket S because we're hybrid. So some desks have two people. So how do I know where those are? So in the digital twin, I've got my views, and I can start to explore what I want to do with these views. So if we look at views based on various parameters, here's staff seating based on department. A very quick arrangement of our departments. Do we have any rogue desks anywhere? Do we want to reshuffle, change, make some operational decisions based on the visual data that's portrayed from the data inside the model? Each desk carries specific items. So there's your department. There's my network switch number. And that's a pretty fascinating thing to say, hey, wait a minute, what can I do with that otherwise I wouldn't be able to do? So with the views, I can say, well, I just maybe want to just see the asset itself. I can analyze that. But let's look at this network switch number. Now I'm seeing an arrangement. Well, does that help me? Maybe. But what's pretty cool here is this clustering view. I can now look and see, do I have equal clusters on my network ports? And if they're not balanced, why aren't they balanced? A quick visual, sit with my IT team and understand what can we do to better our network infrastructure just from what we have here. And then there's other possibilities. We have desks where we have pairs. So at a pair, we have a special apparatus called a KVM switch. It allows me to switch HDMI outputs from two monitors to two separate computers. Well, where are those? Where do I have them? So all that data is in my digital twin, and it's just a matter of making views for me to experience and understand. Seating by manager versus by department. That's what we're looking at here. So all this is just different ways to slice and dice how we're using the space within our office every single day. So it's very influential and very experiential for us. Now, as I go through these, should have maybe prefaced, this isn't everything you can do with the digital twin. These are the three places we started. We said we got to do something because sky's the limit with this with technology. So let's jump to wellness. And wellness is pretty cool. How do we feel in space? So we said, let's focus on air quality. What do I do with air quality? enter those IoT sensors. We said, hey, if we throw sensors all over the place, that's kind of cool. But one problem, you buy an Arduino sensor off of Amazon or wherever, and it's these two little dangling things. What are we going to do, hang them from the ceiling? So we said, let's have an internal design competition. We had 6 teams give us some ideas. We said, we'll pick one. Well, all 6 had some really cool stuff. So we merged them all together and we brought all the teams together. We took the best of all of them, came up with a prototypical idea, ended up with a prototype. So the concept was that Arduino sensor has to fit within, air and light has to flow through and not compromise the sensor, and I have to be able to plug it in, check, I can read the data, now let's make something happen. So what can I track? Temperature, humidity, pressure, CO2, particulate matter, formaldehyde, and lux. More, but that's our focus. So what do I do with the data? Well, the raw sensor data is coming out of these things every 5 minutes. So we use MQTT as a service on a Linux server. It listens to the data, pulls it all together, timestamps it, and places it on SQL Server. Awesome. Now I've got this running list on SQL of data going back many, many years. That's not fun. I'm a Power BI fanatic. So let's build a dashboard. Point to my data, and now I'm seeing live data. So here I'm just filtering by my time frame, and I can flip between temperature, humidity, pressure, CO2, etc., and I can actually experience the data. So by date range, sensor type, and then if I want to isolate, I can isolate a space. What's happening in our lobby? What's happening in our gym, in our IT room? If somebody says it's hot, is it really? If we see that the space had a temperature drop like here, let's go find out why and figure out what's going on and proactively act based on the data that we can experience with. Now, particulate matter is a really fun one. So last summer in July, there were massive forest fires in Western Canada. I'm situated here in Toronto. Winds were blowing east, and at some point in July, we had those spikes. So we were sitting in our building, we'd open the door and it smelled like campfire. We're sitting in the building and we think everything's sealed. Inside smelling like a bit of campfire. We looked at our sensor and lo and behold, particulate matter was high. So they were working. That's great. We look at this and we say, Brent likes Power BI. Not many people might not want to see it this way. Enter my digital twin. So the phenomenal part of the digital twin is the ability to tie my IoT streams and visualize them. So on a quick glance, I see I've got a hot room, a hot corner, a cold room. I can flip between what I'm looking at, barometric pressure, CO2, humidity, etc. All the sensor streams are visualized and heat mapped. I set the threshold. So what is red? What is blue? How do I want to see this? And I am able to then experience it as desired. Of course, we have the first floor and our mezzanine second floor, and there I can see we have a cooler room and a hot room right beside it. What can I do? I can pull up the streams, and by hovering over the location of the sensor, I'm seeing the live connection point as being brought from the stream. If I see that it hasn't been updated, I'll go and check if something happened with the server, but it's every 5 minutes. I'm also able to visualize 14 days of data here. So Power BI gives me years, but if I just want to see an immediate 2-week trend, it's right here at my disposal. I can look at the current, I can look at the trend, and then as Autodesk enhances Tandem, maybe I can see the trend visually in the heat map one day. But that's the exciting part of this. It's a growing technology. As things get updated, suddenly new functionalities appear over here. And then lastly, we have assets. And what do I want to do with assets? Well, I've got a couple problems to solve here, or opportunities to fix. I have my inventory, and then I have how the actual asset works itself. So to do that, we've engaged 2 other applications in tandem with Tandem. Sortly is for inventory, and we use SharePoint to house our documentation. So if you've never heard of Sortly, it's pretty cool. We set up a folder based on one of our defined spaces, and within the folder, we identify the inventory. So here I'm going to be using as the example our bike storage box. It's a Velo box, that's the vendor. It's outside, and the box itself is modeled and it's in the digital twin. But these are all fobs that we have to distribute for people to unlock and lock the bike storage. We're not going to model these, but they're important to have and know where they are. So I can track my inventory here and have it bound to the digital twin. That same bike storage in SharePoint has a manual. How do I use it? So what do I do when I walk up to that with my bike? Where do I put the fob? Where do I put a key, etc.? How does it work? All that's here. And it's all a couple clicks away from my digital twin. So in the digital twin, I set up a couple views. Assets with inventory and assets with manuals. So here I'm zooming into an example where I have inventory, and I just click on it and I'm able to see, click directly to Sortly, and I'll be able to access the inventory live from the model. When I'm done with it, I'll go back to my model and I'll be able to re-engage with the digital twin. And it's this back and forth that allows me to ensure I'm not duplicating data from one system to another. And the concept here that we deployed is the use of hyperlinks. So no matter how the inventory changes, here I'm going to select our, that was our swag cabinet. No matter how the inventory changes, the link will never change. So I can expand and contract what's inside. My target, here's my stationary, will always be my target. And that's what I wanted to make sure for both inventory and for the asset manuals. If my links break, there's no point in doing this. So here I go to my assets with manuals. Anything colorized has a manual. I'm going to click on our green wall here, go to the type. It's the green wall manual. And this takes me to SharePoint, and I can now experience. Look at the quantity of stuff there. I would never want to link to a specific PDF because it might change, to a specific report. All that might change. I want to get you to the data and then make sure my data is managed properly by my facility manager. So you might click on the green wall and want to see the wall list, the plant list. You might click on the wall and want to see how often to water it, or how often to change the plant, etc., the maintenance side of it. Regardless of what you want to see, the point is you want to get to information about the asset, and that's what we've built in here. I'm jumping over to the laser cutter. I'm going to click on it. Same concept. How does a laser cutter work? What button do I press? I don't know. Click, boom, 3 clicks. I now have my manual for my laser cutter, and I can now follow the safety procedures and access it accordingly. The other fun part of this is I can get into a 3D view and actually experience it as I'm walking through first person. And that's pretty cool because I can take any one of my filters. So here I'm still using the show me assets with an asset manual, but I can now walk through it on my phone. I can walk through it from any avenue and still engage those hyperlinks. It's all M365 compatible. So because I'm registered on my phone, I can jump around and hit my documentation as I require or as I desire while I'm moving through this space. And the beauty of this is it's now in a more familiar environment that allows me to move around as I would my design model, as I would a gaming engine, as I would anything else of that nature. So it's pretty phenomenal what we're able to do, what we're able to see and engage with. It just brings the familiarity and the access to the information that we're trying to achieve. And the end result here is bringing virtual and physical together, that we have that connectivity and that ability to access the information that we need. Thank you for your time.